back. I'm Tedward and welcome to my final thoughts video on the all-new 992.2 Carrera GTS, because it really does deserve some thoughts after driving it up through Vermont and New Hampshire. This is a major phase shift. This is a revolution in the 911 powertrain, and I can't believe it's occurring in a mid-cycle refresh. It's not an all-new generation, it's a .2, and it's pretty impressive that we're seeing such a difference between the cars within the same chassis life cycle. It's amazing. Right now, the nose lift is up, so my apologies. I like to put it up for the driveway, so it's looking a little off-roadified right now. But let's start with the design, then we'll go into powertrain, drivability, and all that good stuff. So design-wise, it's a very pretty car. They've added these gorgeous little slats here that open and close for efficiency and cooling, but what they changed was they got rid of the lighting design on that bumper, and now all of the lighting design is within the headlight up front. And I think that's a little bit of a bummer. I liked having that sleek little fog or blinker light down low. I'm not going to say it's a miss, but I am going to say that I miss it. And then around back, the 992 got a very high waistline. That belt line is really tall, and now it just looks like it's kind of stacked. It's very vertical back here. And then these center exhaust, I think, look fantastic, but because they're integrated into the bumper, they're not actually part of the exhaust. I don't want anything fake on my 911. I think the 911 should be ultra pure. Everything should be form meets function. So knowing that this, you can see the gap, doesn't actually connect to the exhaust, it's just a tiny bit frustrating. And the use of plastic down there doesn't scream super expensive car, because remember, this one, as tested, is 178 grand. Price is a thing with the 992.2, because we actually, in the meantime, while I was driving this up through Vermont, New Hampshire, they just released the specs for the 992.2 Turbo S. However, I do think this looks fantastic on the RS wheels. They don't have center locks. This is good. Center locks, while neat and fun to show off at the car show, are pretty impractical in your home or on the side of the road. And not many tow truck drivers are going to be thrilled when you call for a spare tire change, and they don't have the tool. So I think having a 5-lug setup is fantastic. And right now we're running the standard steel brakes painted in high gloss black, but if you opt for the PCCBs, you're gonna get yourself the new brakes, which have 10 piston calipers. So they're not messing around when it comes to slowing this vehicle down. One penalty, though, as we move into drive and powertrain, is weight, because this is now a hybrid system. It's the T hybrid. It has a big old turbo. It's got a motor within the turbo, and it's got a motor between the PDK and the engine. That means you're going to need a battery. There's a 1.9 kilowatt hour battery. It lives up front. The weight penalty for this is only about 100 pounds, maybe 110. While that's not a lot, it is something. And we should always be trying to make our sports cars lighter, not heavier. However, I do think this is a reasonable compromise. Okay, we'll get into powertrain in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. This one, being a convertible or a cabriolet, usually not my flavor of 911. I'm a Targa guy, I'm a coupe guy, but goodness, living with this is amazing. This is such a fast top. I believe it goes down in 12 seconds. You can do it up to 30 miles an hour. And I was doing that pretty frequently, because occasionally I was either getting sunburned or the rain was about to hit. So I'd throw it back up or down, depending on my preference of the moment. And I didn't have to think too hard. If I was rolling away from a green light, I didn't have to hold up traffic to let this thing down. In addition to that, there's 3 monster magnesium pieces up here, so it's very rigid, and that means that you get sound insulation as well. So when you do have the top up, it feels like a coupe. It does not feel like you're in some ragtop convertible that's making it frustrating or loud. The only penalty you get inside for this is slight lack of visibility on that rear 3/4. However, of course, you've got blind spot monitoring on the mirrors, and the mirrors are really good, and for the most part, there's not that much of a blind spot. The 18-way power adjustable seats are like immensely maneuverable. You can get these right the way you want them. I spent many hours in these seats last weekend, and they felt fantastic. In the rear, you can opt for this to be a 2-seater. This one has the rear kinder seats, the parcel shelves fold down, and you can use it however you'd like. I think this is a versatile way to do it, but you can opt for this to be a 2-seater and just have the kind of fabric inserts there. I don't know how I would do mine, but it's up to you. Carrera GTS also gets standard Alcantara wheel, and another feature, it's no longer an option for rear axle steering. So GTS models will get rear axle steering standard, and I'm telling you, it is imperceivable. Yes, it's perceivable in the sense that your U-turns are incredible and the turning is great, but I don't notice the car doing anything funny. It just works. It's fantastic. Okay, let me also show you up front, because like I said, that battery is up here, but there's really no space penalty for it. Not that I noticed, at least, because I lived the whole weekend with my stuff up here, and I had luggage, I had shoes, I brought a lot of things, because when I'm not flying, I don't pack light. I just throw everything in there. One thing you'll notice on this car right now is the rally grime on the white paint. I earned that rally grime. I wanted the bug splatters. I wanted the dirty wheels. I wanted all this nasty stuff, because that's part of car ownership. It's like, you know what? Dirt don't slow you down, as Magnus Walker says, so let's get them a little bit dirty. I'm going to wash this, or at least clean it up a little bit before we hand it back to Porsche, but I just thought it would look cool if it was actually filthy. So let's get inside, talk interior changes, and start it up, because this has a wild startup. This has the 3.6 liter, no longer the 3 liter, the 3.6 liter T hybrid system. So let's start it with our button, not our little turny key. And it does sound quite good. It's got a more grunty 911 sound than even the 3 liter did. It's hard to explain. Anyway, right now, the first thing you're going to notice, and this was like the first marketing stuff we saw from 992.2, was that they got rid of the little key thing, and they also got rid of the tachometer in lieu of a screen. And that was a bit of a bummer. I mean, who wants a screen when you can have a nice, beautiful tachometer? You still get the Sport Chrono guy up here, and that's fine. But I do think there's something a bit missing here. The Bose system has worked phenomenally well. But let's get on the road and let's talk about powertrain. Great cameras on this thing. I think they really nailed the style, and it's easy to see what's going on, especially with the convertible. It's even more difficult to see over the back. So having these cameras is 100% necessary. There's really no other way to reverse your car. You'll notice the auto start stop. It's incredibly fast. There are no belts on this engine. It's not a belt-driven system. Everything is integrated. So this electrical system powers the accessories, and it doesn't need belts to do it. And there is no starter motor, so it's just on and off instantly quick because of that integrated motor between the PDK and the engine. Now this one has a new PDK. It's 8-speed. I think the first 6 gears are sport tuned, so it allows this thing to rip off the line, shift with very close ratios, and then 7th and 8th gear are a lot longer for fuel economy and highway cruising. We're going to talk about that in a minute when we do get on the highway. But look, it's stopping the engine before we've even come to a stop, and then it immediately jumps back to life. That may annoy you, it may not, I don't know, but all I know is that it's a lot better than listening to a starter motor chug away and grab onto that outside of the flywheel with those teeth and hope it's going to last for years and years to come. As we go over some of these unpleasantries in New England roads, the suspension is really lovely. And this is one of those selling points where now the GTS to me was never a car that I particularly dreamed about or wanted. I'm a GT3 guy. I'm a turbo guy. But now with this powertrain, the GTS starts to actually have a reason to be. It's not simply a list of options for less like it's kind of been. It also has a smart list system, so every time you use that, you can tell it like, hey, do you want to remember this location? And it'll automatically do the lift, so you don't have to think about it all the time. It's just doing it. Maybe you drive there often. But now the GTS isn't simply just, oh yeah, it's lowered 10 millimeters and you get the cool wheels and some trim. No, the GTS now has a different engine. This is massive because before, if you got a base or Carrera S versus a GTS, you're getting the same powertrain. Now you're getting a new powertrain. And this T-hybrid system, I think, is absolutely staggering, and it's a major change for the 911 that I think suits it for the better. And this is like alien technology. But you'll notice how low in the revs this keeps the car. I'm in 8th gear. I'm in automatic mode. I'm not telling it to do this, but it's in 8th gear at like 950 RPM. And I can still accelerate. I can still move. It's using that motor between the PDK and the engine to try to help assist that a little bit. And it's also spooling that turbo with an electric motor inside the turbo in order to get boost. So it can do really bizarro things. And that's my only gripe, I think, is that it wants to cruise too low in the rev range. I find that to be very disconcerting. While it works, I think just emotionally it feels wrong. I don't know how to explain that other than it just feels wrong. But of course, you can always throw it in a manual mode and boost up those revs if you'd like. The best thing about a 911 is just the driving position. You're low in the car. I think I can even get lower. Yeah, I can get quite a bit lower. That's kind of silly. I think I didn't set my memory seat. So whoever did, I keep having to adjust when I get back in. But you're so low in the car, you've got great visibility out of the front. It's very easy to just maneuver these cars safely, knock on wood, to get around where you need to go quickly. And now, because I don't have to wait for any turbo to spool, when I want power, I get it immediately. Get it into sport mode. Notice between those shifts, I don't know if you can feel it or tell on camera, but there's no sensation of a shift. It torque fills. It just pulls and pulls and pulls. And so you don't get that, and PDK is lightning fast, right? We're not sitting here going, oh, well, we really needed to fill that space between those slow PDK shifts. No, but I didn't really know there was that much space between PDK shifts until I felt this powertrain. So let's get into it. What is this thing? It's a flat 6, 3.6 liters, so they've bored and stroked it from the 3-liter twin turbo that we had prior in the 992 and 991.2 generation cars. So now we have more displacement. So that's already off the bat going to be ability for more power, more torque, low-end stuff, great. Then they go ahead and instead of 2 turbos, it has a single large turbo. That single large turbo has no wastegate. That single large turbo has an electric motor inside the turbo that allows it to spool, pre-spool essentially, and generate pressure without exhaust gases. So right now, as I lean on the throttle, I'm cracking the throttle, there's already pressure in the turbo despite the fact that I wasn't sending enough exhaust gases through that turbo to actually get it spooled. So think of it as an electric anti-lag system, okay? Then, once the revs are up and it's moving that exhaust gas through, it operates like a very regular, normal turbo. Exhaust gas spin the turbine and we get intake pressure. Great. What it can also do is it can recuperate energy. So it regenerates power for that battery, kind of like the 919 car, the race car. So what it does is, let's say I get on throttle a little bit, we're pushing, okay, then I lift, okay? If I had pressurized that turbo, now it's regenerating that turbine speed energy and charging the 1.9 kilowatt hour battery up front. Magical stuff, really magical stuff. This is amazing. And this is what I mean. Like, I wish that the word hybrid had not been sort of like sullied by the idea of, oh, well, hybrids are for people who don't like driving. Hybrids are for people that just want to save the environment, which, you know what, by the way, environment's pretty dope. We should probably save it. But that's besides the point. We have not really gotten the opportunity to think of hybrids as performance adders, and this is it. Maybe this is the big change where we look at hybrids and think, hey, it's not just out there to get us 40, 50, 60 miles per gallon. It's now out there to get us speed. It's doing it. Now, Ferrari obviously has been doing hybrid systems for a little bit now too. Not crazy. We've had SE hybrids in Porsches. We know about that, but this is different. This is a real phase shift in the way a hybrid can be used, and I am here for it. So the second motor, like I said, sits kind of within and between the engine and the PDK. So that is going to allow for two things. One, it's what starts the car. It's how this thing has such rapid auto start stop. Two, it's also going to torque fill because it has enough juice in order to, between shifts or when you need it, add enough power to basically eliminate any type of disruption to the drivetrain. This car, being a GTS, is rear-wheel drive. That matters because the fact that I can get into a 552 horsepower rear-wheel drive, I'm going to give him the option if he wants it. I don't think he's going to take it, but okay. The fact that I can get into a 552 horsepower 911 with rear-wheel drive, this is like GT2 territory of the past. Unfortunately, I mean not fortunately, but unfortunately, they just came out with the Turbo S, which has 700 horsepower because instead of a single turbo, it employs two turbos that have the motors inside. So it can do some pretty wild stuff. And we are gonna get over, look, watch. We had to slow down for this traffic. That's like 10% throttle. I'm like barely touching it. What this thing can do when you lean on it is unbelievable. It's so good. This honestly feels like a big block engine. This is what this engine allows the car to do. It makes it feel like it's either one, electric, which I think is maybe a misnomer because it doesn't feel electric. It definitely feels properly powered with pistons. But two, it really feels like a high displacement engine. And now this guy's gonna just pace me and block me in, which is very annoying because I gave him the option to move over with that truck, and he's just going to treat me like that. But we're not passing anybody. We're going to move all the way to the right despite our reasonable speeds, and then watch, he'll probably just get up next to us and block us on this lane too. Oh, don't you love commuting in the morning? It's crazy. Yes, you are a very frustrating driver, you little Ford Fusion. That's okay, you look like an Aston Martin repeat. Comes the traffic. Now as we get into the brakes, we're getting some regen. Pretty good. So we're recuperating some energy from both motors. And we're gonna get off the highway in a minute, but my last thing I wanna say while we're on the highway is that this gets incredible fuel economy on the highway. I managed 29 miles per gallon at about 75 miles an hour on my drive up to Vermont on the highway. That was completely unexpected. I did not think this was capable of that. And it has the 22.1 gallon extended range fuel tank, which means that if you really played your cards right, you'd have a range of over 600 miles in this car, okay? That's just bananas. So let's slog through traffic a little bit. I don't want to make you sit through that. Then we'll get off the highway and head up to Garage 42. It's not that the previous 3-liter twin turbo was ever underpowered, but it's where that power is available and how it's delivered. Because look, we're 73 miles an hour right now. Let's say I want to make a move. That's how quickly decisions can be made with this car. There's no lag, there's no waiting. It just occurs. That's the magical thing, and that's what makes this a better daily driver even, because when you have the ability to make split-second decisions, it means that you don't even really need that downshift. It means that all you have to do is think and you go. And that is how you cut through traffic if you need to make some moves, responsible moves, but some moves nonetheless, to make some things happen. Because otherwise you're sitting there waiting like a high revving car like an E92 M3. you couldn't just lean into it and go. Sure, you had 414 horsepower, but that was all basically above 7,000 RPM. So if you're at 3,000 RPM, you don't have anything. This car at like 1,000 RPM basically still has torque. It's crazy. So we lean into it, it's going. What this car doesn't do that well, and this is a gripe I have, is that it doesn't engine brake very much. You've got to really downshift because it likes to sit at these very low revs. So when you get off the throttle, you just coast, and it feels like this neutral coasting that just doesn't end. And it's a little tricky to manage at like lower speeds between, let's say, 50 and 65 miles an hour. So if you're on those sort of like 2-lane roads when you're following traffic, sometimes you find yourself really having to manage the throttle or just downshifting a little bit just to have some of that engine braking. I don't know. That's just a weird symptom of this. I think we're used to having a little more revs. I don't think I've ever been in a 911 that operates so frequently below 1,500 RPM. Drivability-wise, I found that the new GT3s are very stiff, and those are the cars that I always wanted, but now I am pretty much priced out of them because the starting price of a new GT3 is $222,000. So I don't see that in the cards for me unless I make some very irresponsible choices or just decide I don't want to live in a place anymore. I just want to live in my car. I'm not quite there yet. This, I think, is perfect. It's not too stiff. It's not too soft. It's on the stiffer side, but it's a sports car. And I think it always lets you know it's a sports car without making you want to break your teeth every time you hit a bump. It can also react to everything much faster than previous generation cars because the previous generation cars were on, look at the auto start stop, going back down to 0, stopping the engine before we've even come to a stop. The previous generation cars are 12-volt systems. So if it's doing PDCC or PASM things, it's limited by how fast that system can send electricity where it needs to go. However, this car has a high voltage system, and it allows it to send power to the dampers and the mounts and all the modules very fast, faster than ever before. And that makes for a very interesting driving experience. Can I go this way? No, I can't go this way. I have to wait for these folks to turn. Don't know why that gets a right-only thing there. That's some traffic study must have indicated that that was the smarter move. This is downtown Hudson. Hudson's a hip little town. Used to be like not that great, and then they revamped it all. Now there's like restaurants and breweries and speakeasies, and people built nicer homes, and it's kind of like a nice little success story. And it's not like really pricing people out, so it's not some like gentrified nightmare. This steering is sublime. I really love the way it weights up. I really love the feel. I love that I'm never chasing the steering wheel. Sometimes you get into sporty cars and they're a little too darty and you're like, wait, what did I ask for? That was too much. Sometimes Lamborghinis are like that. You get in and it's just so sensitive that you're, a little bit of this is 3 lanes of traffic and you've got to adapt. Everything about this car just feels so inherently in tune and intuitive with how you anticipate a car to behave. And that's hard to tune when you don't notice that something is great. Sometimes that's the greatest thing. It's like, it's just, well, of course it's good. Well, no, someone had to spend a lot of time making it that good. And Porsche just kind of figured that out. They understand the human element of driving. Okay, look, I'm gonna lift. Just no engine braking. Like, it's maintaining my speed. I just want a little more engine braking. But again, you just gotta go for that downshift. But because it's an 8-speed, you gotta go for like 3 or 4 downshifts when it's only at like 1,000 RPM. Left their Duncan on the roof. That's such a bummer. And because you're going to complain that I didn't hit it, I'm going to hit it, but we're not going to use it. So if you want to get all the juice, for whatever reason, putting your foot down just isn't fast enough for you, you want that 10 seconds, you hit this red button. And you get 20 seconds of party time, and it's just going to basically put you in a Sport Plus configuration for that time. That's great. It does the job. It's a little gimmicky in my opinion because I think the car is, fast enough anyway, so I don't worry too much about it, but that's all right. I hit the button. Now you've seen me hit the button. We don't need to use it. Little squeak from the seat on that one. But okay, interior quality has honestly been the best I've experienced in a 992. Usually 992s have some little things, little squeaks or rattles or, other little things. This car has been really solid. So I have to assume that Porsche has upped their build quality game, especially when it comes to interiors, because I think they were probably getting some complaints about some of those things, especially from journalists. But this car has been alarmingly solid. We don't need it, but this nose lift is so fast, we might as well do it. All right, we're almost at Garage 42. While we're driving there, we might as well finish this top down. Can't do that in a Targa. No, sir. Got to be completely stopped for the Targa. And with this convertible, there's no buffeting. There's no buffeting. They've solved all of the buffeting things that I usually get annoyed at with 992s. And even with the windows up, windows down, everything's great. So many of the small problems that were annoying to me in this generation of cars have been solved with this refresh. And we've entered a new era of 911 because of this powertrain. It's alien technology that does things that I didn't think were possible. And it's always exciting when Porsche comes out with something really new that's actually a game changer, that actually solves a problem. Because I'll tell you, I've still been kind of recommending 991.1s to people because you can get that naturally aspirated 3.8 liter. And I think it sounds really good, and I think it's more responsive than the 3 liter twin turbo and all that stuff. Well, now I'm going to recommend this because if you've got the money, which you do have to have the money, it is not an inexpensive endeavor to get into one of these, but if you've got the money, this is like the most exciting 911 other than a GT car. And it's stupid fast. And of course, they've just reintroduced the Turbo S with the twin turbo variant of this T hybrid system. That's going to be absurd. No question about that. But do you need it? Yeah, I'm going to drive it. I'm going to enjoy it. And it's going to be a blast. However, this is really very, very quick. And we'll park up next to my Lexus. This is really very, very quick. And it's basically like a gentleman's GT2 because, you know what? We're going to park it up here for a second just so I can show you the car because I want you to see this thing with the top down and everything. It looks really good. We'll close it out here. I was going to have it idling. Let's see. We'll go into sport mode so it's idling. I want you to hear this exhaust. Yeah, maybe those are the words I've been looking for. This is the gentleman's GT2 because you get a rear-wheel drive, 552 horsepower, turbo flat six. And it's just a lunatic. I can't believe how easy this is and how fast it is and how capable it is. And despite some added weight because of the hybrid system, you don't really notice it. I think we'd have to be on a racetrack doing proper head-to-heads to get that feeling. But I think it's beautiful. I think it's fast. I think 911s have evolved. And that's where we stand. So if you were curious about this, go drive one. If you're against it, go drive one. If you don't understand what it is, go drive one. If you're a GT car guy only and it's a GT3 for you and nothing, go drive one. If you're a turbo guy, go drive one. You might save yourself like $100,000 if you don't need the twin turbo variant of this, because I'm telling you, that one's gonna be close to 300 Gs after you spec it out. And this one as it sits is 178. So those are my final thoughts. I could talk about this car at length, ad nauseum. That's actually why I'm here right now at Garage 42, where I store my cars. But my podcast studio is up there, and I'm going to be talking to my good friend Thanasi from The Money Shift, because he is just a wealth of knowledge. We're talking Prelude, we're talking T-Hybrid. We got a lot of cool stuff in the works to talk about what's happening in the market today. But this, man, I didn't really have my eye on it until I had to have my eye on it, and now I love it. So thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you have any questions about the driving experience, about what it's like that I didn't cover, please ask in the comments. Let's talk about this, because this is a revolution, and I love that it's coming in a mid-cycle refresh, not an entirely new chassis. So Porsche's got some fun tricks up their sleeves. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm not going to do a full wash, but we are just going to get some of the clay and nasty stuff that got on the car and try to make it look a slightly more presentable. So, I'm just going to pull into this wash bay here. It's four-wheel steering, man, making this quite easy. Look at that. All right. First, we'll do a little once over just to show you how nasty these wheels are. Look at all this. Oh my God, it's so filthy. This is great. This just loosens up some of the nasty grime. That's the good stuff.